You will hear a fitness instructor talking to his class after a workout. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 16. Listen carefully to the first part of the talk and answer questions 11 to 16.
Right, everybody. That's enough of a workout for this evening. If you'd just like to grab a chair and sit in a semicircle, right, that's it. Okay then. It's funny, really. I've just asked you all to sit so that I can talk to you about the perils of sitting. Now, most, if not all of you, have jobs, and they're probably desk jobs, which means spending most of the day sitting down. And I'll bet for some of you, the first thing you want to do when you get home is put your feet up in front of the telly with a nice cuppa. But most of us spend a substantial proportion of the day sitting down. Too much time, in fact. Recent surveys have shown that in Britain, most people sit or lie down for about 20 hours a day, which is a staggering figure, don't you think? I found it hard to believe at first. But when you think about it, we sit on the commute to and from work, we sit at work, then we sit when we get home. It all adds up. So, I'm going to talk about some of the dangers, yes, sitting is dangerous, of being sedentary, and some of the things we can do about it, which are just common sense, really. Given the amount of sitting we do, it is now considered as the fourth biggest risk to public health. It is a habit that is killing us. Our laziness, let's call it that, even though we may think of it as a well-earned rest after a hard day, is responsible for rises in obesity and disease, for a fall in brain health and mobility, and shortens our lives. I suppose you could say we are sitting ourselves to death. Our bodies are built for movement, and movement keeps us healthy. But the problem with our sedentary lives is not just that we are inactive during those periods of sitting, but it's the way we sit, the mechanics of it, if you like. Most of us, when we sit for long periods, are so badly positioned that the muscles in our lower body turn off and become inactive. At the same time, we automatically adopt positions that don't use the critical muscles and connective tissues that support and stabilize our trunk and spine. The result, as they say, is a compromised body function. Let me throw a few more scary facts at you. Sitting for prolonged periods reduces the enzymes that help metabolize fat and sugar in the body, leading to weight gain and the risk of high blood pressure. German researchers have done tests that seem to prove that for every additional 2 hours you remain seated, you increase the risk of some cancers, mainly bowel and lung. It also affects your breathing, your digestion, can cause back and neck problems, in short, almost every aspect of your health. And let's not forget the brain. When the body is inactive, and especially when it is sitting, the brain cannot be fully engaged, and it becomes much more difficult to stay focused, and your brain shrivels, which is why there's a growing trend for stand-up desks in some offices these days. So, commendable as it is that you come to these workouts, the benefits are blunted if you spend the rest of the day just sitting around. You need to reduce the time you sit to about 2 hours a day. Now, I want you to sit on the floor with your legs crossed.
Now you have some time to look at questions 17 to 20. Now listen to the next part of the talk and answer questions 17 to 20.
Okay, that's good. Now, the reason I've asked you to do this is that if you have to sit at all, this is the best way to do it. Normally, when you sit down in a chair or on the sofa, your glute muscles relax and your hips no longer work to position you. Also, your body is forced to put too much weight on your hamstring muscles. This way, not only are your hips and trunk used to support you, but you sit on your pelvis, which is designed to take the load. And your spine is not bent out of shape as it is when you slouch. Those of you who have done yoga know this as the lotus position, and you can sit like this on a chair too. Practice it. It's the best way to sit and is as close to standing in a seated position as you can get. All these suggestions I'm making take into account the fact that most of you do have to spend a certain amount of the day sitting down. One obvious strategy is to get up and move about every 20 minutes or so, and to change position often. Walk around a bit, stretch your chest, do some shoulder rolls, as great a variety of loosening up movement as you can, without looking mad or attracting too much attention. Do this for 2 or 3 minutes each time. When sitting, try to sit on the front edge of the chair. This does 2 things. First, it makes sure you sit on the bony part of your backside, which is the part we were designed to sit on, rather than the fleshy part and thighs. Second, it forces you to use your body's anatomy properly. You automatically straighten up and your hips work more effectively. I can see some of you are not used to the lotus position. It'll come with practice. Just a couple more pointers before we wind up. As always, keep hydrated. Poor hydration limits mobility. Oh, and a useful tip, to make sure the water doesn't go straight through you, add a pinch of salt. And last but not least, breathing. People who sit a lot tend to breathe shallowly, from the neck. Not breathing properly has an effect at the cellular level, affecting not just breathing, but digestion and metabolism. So, practice the deep breathing exercise I showed you at the beginning of the session, and be aware of your breathing throughout the day. Okay then, that's it. I'll see you at the next session.
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 3.